I believe this is U-Haul's first trailer they ever purchased. It's probably older than I am.
Welcome back to E-Hermes, your electric adventure travel channel. Please remember to subscribe, hit the like button, and hit that bell button to be notified of our upcoming content.
Hello and welcome to phase 2 of our Odyssey, our 2,500-mile trailer towing trip from Northeast Ohio to Southwest Florida and back. We are so excited. We have Mrs. E-Hermes with us on the return trip. She'll be joining us coming back to Ohio, so that makes us very, very happy. We learned a few things on our way down. By the way, the link to that video is in the descriptions below. Most notably, about the range we get towing the trailer. We have a different cargo weight in the trailer on the way back. I think it's probably a little bit less overall, but it's fairly similar. So one thing we learned coming down is we get about 130 miles of range per full battery pack, or 13 miles for every 10%. One of the mistakes I made coming down was I charged way too long at stops where I would charge to 100% so I could skip stations. Just like when we're not towing a trailer, I need to do more frequent but less long charging stops, charging in that 5 to 80% range rather than that 80 to 100% range, which just takes forever even at the fastest charging station. Now the reason I did that coming down and why it gives me some pause going back is at some stations I'm going to have to unhook the trailer to be able to access the charging. So that certainly is a reason why I wanted to do less total charges, less frequent charges. But I think on the way home, because I just learned that some of those 80 to 100% charges just take literally forever, that we're going to go ahead and bite the bullet and do more stops, even if I have to unhook a few times. I believe I charged 11 times coming down. I only had to unhook twice. Hopefully going back we can do the same thing. We will be stopping at many of the same chargers. I know the first 3 for sure we'll be stopping at. They are Arcadia, Davenport, Florida, and Deltona, Florida. 3 250 kVA superchargers. The first one, Deltona, has good pull-in space. Davenport does not, and I don't really remember on Deltona. But we'll be charging at those 3 first today. Our goal is to try to get as far as we can today into the night and stop and sleep for a few hours and then maybe finish off tomorrow. Getting from Sanibel to Interstate 75 is a distance of maybe 15 miles, but it's a painful 15 miles of traffic. All right, we're pulling into the Arcadia, Florida supercharger at the Winn-Dixie grocery store. Unfortunately, this fella, who's not towing anything, pulled into the pull-in space, which is going to make me block a whole bunch of spaces now. This is going to be a very short stop. We only need to add about 35 miles of range. So by the time we do what we're going to do here, if she's leaving, I'm going to pull up there further, so I block less spaces. By the time we do what we do here, walk into the grocery store, I'm going to check the trailer hitch and everything for the first time, and it'll be time to go. This won't take long at all. Next stop is Davenport, Florida. That's at a Wawa gas station. So the people that were pulled into the pull-in charger came out just as I was trying to maneuver into another one. So we are going to go ahead and pull into this one, and that way we will only be blocking nothing, I don't think, actually. We'll be out in the driveway a little bit, but there's plenty of room for people to get by. So you can see we're blocking the driveway somewhat, but there's plenty of room for people to get by. Maybe a delivery truck might have a little trouble, but with nobody parked on this side except for this golf cart, even that's not a problem. But it sure is nice if people that are not towing something would leave these pull-in stations available for those of us that are towing. So leaving Arcadia, Florida supercharger, actually we left the house with 87% state of charge. I believe if we would have had 100%, we would have not had to stop here at all. As it was, we stopped for less than 10 minutes just to get a little more juice in there, and now we are good to go to Davenport. It says we'll arrive with 13%. I think it'll be a little bit less than that. It'll probably be about 7 or 8, but we shall see. We're pulling up to the Davenport, Florida supercharger. It is at a Wawa gas station. There are 12 stalls. It says there are currently 11 available, so we should be able to get in even if we have to block a couple with the trailer. I don't recall if this one had a pull-in station or not, but with this few people here, I think we'll be able to get in somewhere and charge without having to unhook the trailer. We should not be here particularly long, about 15 minutes, enough to get to our next stop, which is Deltona, Florida. All right, we are in Davenport, Florida. Unfortunately, we are blocking 1, 2, 3, kind of blocking 4, leaving 2 here. I believe there's either 4 or 6 over there. There's only one other car here. So we're not gonna be here long, only about 15 minutes. Hopefully no one else comes. If I have to, I will move. But I did not unhook the trailer. Hi, Mrs. E-Hermes. So we're leaving the we're leaving the Davenport, Florida supercharger, heading for Deltona, Florida supercharger. From Arcadia, from Arcadia to Davenport was only 86 miles, but the traffic was terrible. In fact, it routed us off the interstate onto back roads because the traffic on Interstate 4 was so bad. Now we're headed for Interstate 4 again, so hopefully this section is not as bad, but we have to go right through the gut of Orlando. So, this just in, we are not going through Orlando. We are going up and around Orlando because the traffic in Orlando must really be bad. All right, we're pulling into the Deltona, Florida supercharger at the Wawa gas station, convenience store, whatever you want to call it. I charged at this one on the way down. I love this one. It has a spot here for me to pull right in and not have to unhook the trailer. I haven't had to unhook the trailer yet, knock on wood. Here we are. This is Deltona, Florida, with the pull-in cabinet. You can see that I'm pretty much out of the drive lane. I'm sticking out a little bit. People can certainly get by, especially with this striped off walk area here. So this works pretty good. There's quite a few people here charging tonight. These are all 250 kW chargers. So they go pretty fast, although when you get to the upper part of the battery pack, it slows way down just like a 150 does. We are headed for the Jacksonville, Florida Phillips Highway supercharger. And we've kind of stretched it to get to this one. They wanted us to stop one before. It says we will get there with 1% battery remaining. That's roughly 3 miles. So hopefully we don't miss our exit or anything. Mrs. E-Hermes is not crazy about cutting it this close. Jacksonville, Florida, Phillips Avenue pull-in site. So we got to the Jacksonville, Florida Phillips Highway supercharger. We actually had 6 miles of range left, 2% when we got here, so we were fine. Mrs. E-Hermes did not have to worry at all. As you can see, when the battery's this low, the speeds really ramp up. We're gonna get up to a little over 1,000 miles an hour, I would suspect. Yep, there we go. 245 kW, 246 kW, 1,022 miles an hour. This only lasts for a few minutes and then it drops off as the battery starts getting fuller. But it does go to show what these 250 kW superchargers will do. Interestingly, we arrived at the Jacksonville Phillips Highway supercharger with exactly 35,000 miles on the odometer. So we have arrived at the Brunswick, Georgia supercharger. We cruised in. Actually, we were still on the interstate and it was down to 1%. We got off, we got here. It was, I think, 2 miles of range left when we pulled at the supercharger. That's cutting it a little close, even by my standards. It's cutting it way too close to Mrs. E-Hermes standards. So we're gonna charge here for a while. We're not gonna cut it that close on the next one. Our next stop, I believe, is Hardy, South Carolina. So we're gonna sit here till we have about a 5 or 6% buffer before we head out. And then we'll go to Hardy, South Carolina, and then St. George, South Carolina. St. George, South Carolina has the pull-through trailer charging station. I think that's where we'll spend some time sleeping too, and then we'll head up to Columbia and further north. Leaving Brunswick, Georgia, our only and last stop in Georgia, heading for Hardyville, South Carolina. We've got a little better buffer this time. We won't be down to the last 1% while we're still on the highway waiting to get off the exit. We are back once again at the Hardyville, South Carolina supercharger. It is at a Parker's convenience store with a Waffle House next door that always has a bunch of light bulbs burn out. Don't really understand that. Got to be careful in this one because you almost want to go in there and it's actually up here at the Parker's, not at the Waffle House. This one has a very nice angled pull-in space. Allows us to get up there and not really block things too badly. Here's the setup at the Hardyville, South Carolina supercharger. Why there's a leaf blower going at midnight, I have no idea. It's a nice pull-in space at an angle, allows you to get it way off the drive lane. This is also where, for the gas station, trucks dump their fuel. And the trash cans are overflowing. We are pulling into the St. George, South Carolina supercharger. It is a favorite because it has a nice pull-through space for me. And we are going to call it a day here. We're going to crawl in the back and get some sleep while we're charging. We'll wake up with a full charge. We'll use camp mode, make sure that everything is ready for us all night and ready to go in the morning. So we'll see you in the morning. We are currently just south of Columbia, South Carolina. This is the beginning of Interstate 77, which we'll be getting onto in 1 mile. And Interstate 77 goes all the way to Cleveland, Ohio. We'll be running almost the entire length of it. We'll be getting off about 30 miles before downtown Cleveland, where it ends in Interstate 90. So here we are pulling into the Columbia, South Carolina supercharger. There are no pull-in spaces in this one. It's behind this Hilton Garden Inn. But it says there's no other cars here, and if there's nobody else parked there, I might be able to park parallel long enough to get it charged without blocking too many spaces. Or I may have to move if someone else comes and needs to charge.
Now your
Let's see what we can do. Oh, no, there's an island there, that's why. Don't like it. So it's really this island that is the problem here. Because if that wasn't there, and there weren't cars parked there, I could pull up 2 more spaces and maybe only be blocking 3. But right now I'm blocking 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 5 of the 8. So if other people come, I may have to move. Go unhook the trailer, come back and back it in. And if somebody comes and parks too close, I may not be able to get out. So I definitely have to back up before I can pull out. We're pulling up to the Charlotte North Lake Center Parkway supercharger.
Destination is on the right.
We stopped at this one on the way down, had lunch here actually, so I know there's a pull-in space here. It does leave the trailer sticking out a little bit into the traffic, but traffic can still get by. So that's what we're going to use. Here we are at the Mount Airy, North Carolina supercharger.
Now your destination is on the right.
At a Sheetz gas station. Chargers are on the back. That's the drive-thru I'd be blocking if I had it sticking out the other way. So probably effectively block one of the chargers, but just one. And there's 7 more. There's nobody here. This is Princeton, West Virginia. It's at a BP and a Starbucks. And there's not a pull-in space, but there was room. Actually, there was somebody parked here letting their dog use the restroom. So I had to kind of go around, and I'm not quite square, but I am blocking 3 spaces, but there's 3 or 4 available. So we're not gonna be here long, about 15 minutes, and then we're heading for Charleston, West Virginia for a long charge to get us back to Cambridge, Ohio. I think we'll have dinner then. are approaching the Charleston, West Virginia supercharger. It is somewhat difficult to get to, and the GPS directions do not make sense. I've done it 3 times now, and it's always kind of a problem.
In 500 feet, turn right. Then your destination will be on the left.
But we're here. This is one where there's room if there's nobody else there.
Now
I can pull up and park parallel, and there is nobody else there. There is an island here, but there's kind of room for me to tuck in here and only block, I think, 2. Wish the island wasn't there, I will say that. So here's the problem. Because the way the stalls are and where the charge port is, I'm blocking the stall that I'm using, blocking this stall, and I'm blocking a 3rd stall, which is kind of a shame because I don't really need to be. Now the good news is there is nobody else here. But we're going to be here for a long time, so I have to keep an eye on this one. We are approaching the Parkersburg, West Virginia supercharger. Never been to this one before. I can't tell from the map or the amenities.
In 1,000 feet, turn left onto 7th Street.
What type of establishment it's at. There's some diner by it, but I'm not sure that's really it. So it's going to be just as big a surprise to me as it is to everyone else. Alright, so this is a nice pull-in space here at the Sheets in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Parkersburg, West Virginia supercharger at the Sheets gas station has a pull-in space and a pretty sunset. So the maintenance costs on this thing are really starting to pile up. This is the 2nd bottle of windshield washer fluid I've had to buy in just over 35,000 miles. When will the expenses end? Oh, by the way, that is the only maintenance expense I have made. We're almost back to where we started, back to our first charging station in Cambridge, Ohio at the Sheets gas station.
500 feet, turn right onto Southgate Parkway.
If there's no one parked there, I can park behind the
Now turn
superchargers
right onto Southgate Parkway.
and not have to unhook the trailer. Because we left the house when we were on our way south with a completely full battery, we did not have to stop in Macedonia, Ohio to top off. But because I don't want to wait for a full charge here, we are going to stop one more time for probably 5 minutes in Macedonia, Ohio. Probably the worst supercharger in the country. It is slow, it is crowded, and it is just very unpleasant. Oftentimes you have to wait there. Anyone who's watched this channel with any frequency has heard me complain about the Macedonia, Ohio supercharger, including earlier in this video. It's small, it's slow, it's overused, it has poor amenities, and Elon Musk, I believe, finally heard me because he has added a new one about 2 miles away in Twinsburg, the next town over, at a Sheets gas station. It is a level 3, version 3 supercharger, 250 kW, so it'll be much faster. It has better amenities because Sheets is open 24 hours a day, and it is a vast improvement. So we're going to head there, top off. I don't think it'll take even 5 minutes, and then we will be headed home. Looky here, brand new superchargers, but there is no pull-in one. And with the snow, that's going to make this a little bit more difficult than I'd like, but we are going to make it work. So, another problem, if you notice, these 4 that I'm by are not lit, and they don't work. Those 4 are lit, and they do work, but with that car there, I can't get at them. So, we're going to wait till he's done, and then we're going to pull up and do our charge. The white car finished charging and left right after I finished the last video clip, and I've got as far back as I can. I think we could get 2 people in here if we needed to. There's no one else here right now, and I'm going to be here probably less than 5 minutes, so shouldn't be a problem. Not sure why the 4 on the left are not operating yet, but they're not. So we got home last night, unloaded the trailer real quick, unhooked the trailer, backed the car into the garage, and put it on the charger. Of course, I woke up this morning, it was fully charged. I think that's one thing that we kind of look at the worst part of owning an electric vehicle on this channel, and that is we're always traveling, always worried about where we're going to charge, how we're going to charge. Over 90% of the time you're charging at home. It's fully charged every morning when you wake up, and it's not even something you think about, except you're happy you never have to go to a gas station ever again. But on the road, the purpose of the channel is to prove that on the road it certainly still can be done, and it is done. And even pulling a trailer, which cut into our efficiency greatly, it was still no big deal to go on a 2,500 mile round trip and charge and not have any issues. So the return trip was 1,289 miles. We used 650 kilowatt hours of electricity and averaged 506 watt hours per mile. The trailer itself was very easy to pull. It was fairly light. I didn't really feel it back there. Using an electric vehicle is just so much superior to an internal combustion engine vehicle. Whenever I wanted to accelerate, pull into traffic, pull out, change lanes, whatever, the response was immediate. It was still quick, even though the trailer was back there. It barely slowed things down. I'm sure it did some, but the acceleration was still amazingly fast. Very responsive. The car handled extremely well. The trailer was narrow, as you may be able to see. It's only a little over 4 feet wide, so I was able to see in my mirrors very well. That was never an issue. We did have some lighting issues with the trailer itself, but I rectified those when I was in Florida. That was not an issue on the way home. Handled very well, didn't sway. I was able to go at normal highway speeds without any problem. I did the same trip last year with the Tesla, but without the trailer. It was not exactly the same route, but it was very similar. The mileage was, I'm sure, very close. On that trip, we used 400 kilowatt hours of energy. With the trailer, we used 650 kilowatt hours of electricity. So over 50% more pulling the trailer. That's why we had to stop so much. We had to charge so often and so long. I had no problem with the charging, had no problem with the stopping. We never, except for my own stubbornness and trying to push the limit, we never came close to running out of electricity where we couldn't find a charger or anything like that. Yes, we were down to 1% one time, but I knew right where the charger was because I had stopped out on the way home, and I was not concerned about that at all. Mrs. E-Hermes, she might have been a little bit more concerned. We never ran into any chargers that didn't work the way we expected them to, except for that last one in Twinsburg, which is brand new and only half of them were working. But the other car that was using it pulled out as soon as we pulled in, and we just pulled up to that spot and did our thing. Yes, the trailer made us charge longer, more often and longer. I'm used to living in the bottom half of the battery pack, where I'm charging between 10% and 60 or 70%. Here I oftentimes had to charge to 70 or 80%. And it charges so much faster in the bottom of the battery pack. At 10% on a 250 kW supercharger, it's charging at over 1,000 miles an hour. At 80%, to trying to get to 90 or full, it's charging at less than 30 miles an hour at times, less than you get from a NEMA 1450 at home. So that little bit of extra that you have to get to reach a further station with the trailer is somewhat painful, I will admit. On the return trip, we charged 12 or 13 times. Unfortunately, I never had to unhook the trailer. I was always able to manage to maneuver the vehicle in such a way that I could get to the charger without having to unhook. So that saved some time. It's really not that difficult to unhook the trailer, but every time you do that, you take a risk of not getting everything hooked back up just right, either the lighting or the safety chains, or even making sure that the hitch is secure. So I like to not unhook if I don't have to. There was one occasion where I may have curb rashed the left front wheel a little bit trying to maneuver up to a charging station. But other than that, it was really uneventful, the charging. Like I say, never had to unhook at all. And that made it more relaxing and convenient, certainly, than on the way down when I believe I had to unhook and park the trailer twice. It was a really good trip. I'm not sure I would want to pull a trailer all the time with this vehicle because of the need to charge so deep into the battery to get to the next station. It really does slow things down pulling the trailer because you have to charge in that higher end of the battery pack. Looking forward to the Ford Lightning and the Rivian, seeing if they can tow maybe a small camping trailer. I think with their much larger batteries, that might be a better way to go. So while we did have to charge more often and for longer periods of time, particularly because we were charging higher into the top end of the battery pack where the charge rate is significantly lower, it did take more time than it would have obviously without the trailer. However, if I had to tow again, I would not hesitate to do so. There was never any problem with it. There was never any distance that was too far between chargers. If I got a little low on the battery pack. That was just my stubbornness and not wanting to stop as often or maybe stay quite as long as I should have at the previous charger. So it was certainly doable. I would do it again. I don't think I would use this vehicle to tow with every day because the battery size is just a little too small for that if you're going to be towing long distances on a regular basis. But for occasional use, perfectly fine. Like I say, the acceleration, the torque, the pulling, the handling was outstanding. So it was a very successful trip. So we hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button. Please make sure you subscribe in any case and hit that bell button to be notified of our upcoming content. Thank you.